So I'm Leland Richardson. I work on native infrastructure at Airbnb. I've been somewhat involved with the React community and React Native community for 2 years now, and I've kind of taken Airbnb into the world of React Native, I guess, in the last year. Before that, I wrote Enzyme, which is like a testing library for React, and just generally been working on that type of infrastructure at Airbnb.
So integrating React Native must have been a really big undertaking at Airbnb. Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah. So React Native was something that I was kind of always excited about as long as it's been public. And I knew that I wanted to work on it. I knew that if it could work, that it could have like a lot of impact for Airbnb. There's a lot of wins in terms of developer productivity, but also just like in consistency across the organization. We use React like prolifically on the web, and being able to leverage some of that expertise natively was like a big advantage. But it wasn't really clear like how it would work and if it was ready yet. And so I kind of started off, we did a hackathon project where me and a team of like 7 or 8 others, I think, really quickly built a prototype of like a Airbnb booking flow. And we tried to make it like as pretty as possible. And so there was like a prototyped design that existed. And so we just kind of took that and we tried to implement that like as fully featured as possible. And so we kind of showed that off at the hackathon, and a lot of people were surprised that like we were able to get that like level of an experience in such a short amount of time. And so that kind of got people thinking about it. And so then we started talking about how we could actually bring it into the main app. And we found a feature that was like really non-critical, a feature that like wasn't really attached to any timeline or anything like that. And the whole premise was that we would build out this feature in React Native into the main app, but like with the goal not necessarily being to build that feature, but to figure out what problems we would run into trying to build that feature. And so we did that, and like along the way, ended up like building out a lot of the infrastructure that was needed, like dealing with things like localization, sharing of state, sharing like image caches and stuff like this, like just across the app. Ended up, they were like things that we knew would be important to get right, but we just didn't necessarily know how we would do them. And once we kind of had all of those problems solved, we were kind of in a state where everyone just kind of had to say like, okay, like this kind of worked. Like, do we want to keep going? And we decided we did.
This idea of adding React Native into an existing app, how does that actually work? Is it like integrating components into different little pieces, or what does that experience actually look like?
We tried to come up with a heuristic kind of at the beginning, and what we told people was not to build anything smaller than a screen in React Native. A lot of people will like say, oh, like React Native sounds interesting, like I have this button that I want to like try to use React Native with, and it's like, well, that's not maybe the best like thing to use it for. And so where it really ends up working out is when you have kind of entirely contained flows. You might have a stateful kind of flow to like go fill out a form, and it maybe has like some sort of submission, and then at the end like you're kind of done. And so it's kind of self-contained. And so you might enter into that flow with like a call to action somewhere. And so then all of that happens in React Native, but then everything else is unaffected. And that's what works the best.
So I know that you participate in React Wednesdays, and you get to hang out with the core team and you guys talk a lot and there's a lot of cross collaboration. What has that experience been like? Has it been helpful, and have you seen others really benefit from this type of experience?
Yeah, so React Wednesday actually kind of came out of this conference. Last year, I was talking with Tom Okino, and I forget what we were talking about, but we found out we were both working on a problem. Like Facebook was trying to solve this thing, and Airbnb was trying to solve this thing, and we realized that we had just spent a couple of months solving the same problem and came up with the same solution. And so that was kind of the moment where we were like, wow, like we should try not to waste so much time, and actually like talk more about these things and learn from each other. And so kind of like almost jokingly, we're like, yeah, let's like go to each other's offices every Wednesday or something. And so that's like literally how it started out. At first it was just a couple of people from Airbnb and a couple of people from Facebook, and we decided like every 2 weeks we'd kind of just go see what we were working on and like if there was any sort of collaboration there, but with the intention of just doing what we were already going to be doing that day. This ended up being like really helpful for us for a couple of things. I think it's helpful for the React team to understand like how other bigger companies are using React and what problems they're running into that maybe Facebook has solved a long time ago, or maybe that they just don't have that problem at all for some reason. But then at the same time, I think allowed them to offload some work too, and to decide, oh, here's a problem that like is important to Airbnb, so let's let them work on it, and we'll provide support in any way, and kind of with the understanding that like since we've talked about it, that we know that there will be an easier path towards like contributing back to core or something like that. And so that's been a really a really wonderful experience to be able to be that close to some of the people that are really behind these libraries that everyone uses and stuff like that. And it's been really helpful for Airbnb, and now a lot of other companies are involved, and so it's great.
Where can we find you on the internet?
So I'm mostly on Twitter. My Twitter handle is IntelligiBabble, which I've been told is not the best Twitter handle, but that is probably the best place to find me.
Hey there. Are you into reactive programming using JavaScript? Do you have to deal with asynchrony in your web app? Then join this instructor Ben Lesh to learn all of the ins and outs of RxJS in his hands-on workshop. Available online and in person, go to rxworkshop.com for more details and to book your spot today.